Hello everyone and welcome back to Roscale Sandbox. Yes, today we are back and we are going to be continuing building the track out in this direction. Now, if you didn't see in our last episode, we finished off this lovely town area. We've got these big rows of houses, this town square that I built, and a really cool old bridge that sits over the top of the railway. Now, the first thing that I want to do today, before we get on to building more track out over here, is I do just need to reprofile this bit of track, because I feel like it comes a little bit too close to the edge of the bridge. So, let's get deleting this. And now that's done, we can come in with a bit of gap fill and put these tracks back to rights, making sure, of course, that we don't get too close to the edge of the bridge. Well, once again, that took longer than I would have liked, but now all of those tracks are looking smooth-ish. So, the plan for continuing on this way, I want to have the track come out to maybe about here-ish, with the nice high banks either side, and then I want it to go into a tunnel with a really nice sort of grand tunnel entrance, sort of in the same style as this bridge over here. And from there, it will go through a bit of a tunnel, and then it will pop out the other side, and then lots of other things can happen. I haven't thought about that far yet. But that is sort of what I want to do today. So first of all, I think we should continue this ballast on to approximately where I want the tunnel to be. Once again, I'm only using 5 degrees as a rotation because then we get this really smooth looking curve. And to be honest, from about here, I think we could just continue straight. So now the ballast is in, let's put the track in. And of course, it's going to be no different to normal, just me pulling along with this gap fill. So that's one side of the track done. Let's go and do the other. And there we go, with a nice curve in place. I think we are ready to start moving on to some of the side bits. So I think the first thing we should do is build the terrain where the track is going to go into the tunnel, and then we can link it up with this bit later on. So I'm just going to use a couple of these wedges to make the terrain a little bit more interesting. And from here, we can of course link this bit of terrain up to this bit over here. So now it's time to do something on the other side. And I think I'm going to be a little bit more direct with this side. Just sort of bring it closer to the track a bit quicker. In fact, you know what? Now I've got this shape, I think I will hook it up to these before I start work on the tunnel. Because then we can add the terrain around the outside and sort of get a general vibe of how this is going to look. So let's continue this little cliff edge. There you go. And it's a lot nicer here because it's got this naturalistic sort of feel as it waves in and out a bit. It's kind of making me want to redo this section a little bit. There we go. That looks better. Now all I need to do is fill in those little gaps down there. And I think I'm going to do that with this cylinder. Or at least I'm going to try. You know what? I don't think I've done too bad of a job there. That looks pretty well integrated. So now I'm going to add the land up to this cliff edge all the way until we reach the tunnel. And this is a top tip for anyone trying to use this terrain method. If you get a cylinder and you pull it up against your outwards facing edges, it should fill the gaps quite nicely. Now, of course, you will be left over with little bits like this, but that is nothing that a big square can't handle. Now, this method does create this little bits of grass that sort of poke through at the top, but I actually really like these because it sort of gives the vibe that the cliffs are sort of overgrown and maybe the grass is overhanging at the top. And then, of course, once you add on some bushes and stuff, it's really, really nice. So I've sort of started to build the entrance to the tunnel. I've just left this as it is for now because I do want the wall to be made out of this texture. However, it will be in that nice arch shape, and I'll put that in once I've completed the front facade of the tunnel. For now though, we've got to come and work on the terrain this side of the track. And there we go, just like that, we've got some nice surrounding terrain to work with. So I believe we can now start work on the tunnel. And I will be running back and forth to this bridge quite a lot because I want to build it in exactly the same style. So I'm going to be, copying across materials and stuff like that. So the plan is to build 2 sort of turrets either side, and then a nice tunnel arch over the top. So first of all, let's get the bases in for these turrets. And of course, I'm going to be using the same ones that I used for this bridge. And instead of putting this on both sides, what I will do is I will build the tower first, and then I will copy it over. So now the base is in, we can build the general structure. And of course, I'm going to grab the color off here. And I want to add a coin onto the edge of these walls. So with the coin, I'm going to have one brick that's out a little bit more and one brick that's in a little bit more. And these bricks are not going to be the same color as this. They are, of course, going to be this color. In fact, I've changed my mind. I want them to be the same color and material as these poles up here. And now that I've got two, I've got them in an alternating pattern, I can now copy them all the way up the side of the edge of this building. There we go. Took me a while with spacing and everything, but that is, in essence, the coin. So now I've got to do that on the other four sides. So there we go. And that adds not only a bit of decoration, but also some structural integrity to this lovely pillar. So now before I can go any further with decorating the top, I feel like I've got to get the arch in because I want some line detailing to go across and I need to know where they're all gonna match up, as it were. And because the shape of a tunnel isn't perfectly round, it's more like an ellipse, I am going to freehand this. You know what? I am not at all unhappy with that. I think once we've got the edge on and it's copied over to the other side, that should look pretty nice. There you go. I think that's about symmetrical. And yes, that looks very much like a tunnel. Okay, so you guys have probably noticed how awful the audio quality is this episode. I honestly don't know what happened. It must have been something with recording. I'm going to have a look at OBS and see, just kind of experiment around with it and try and fix it. It is just for this episode, so I'm really sorry that that's happened. But for some reason, it just decided not to record the audio for this section. Or, I tell a lie, it did record the audio for this section, but it was really, really quiet. So by the time I turned the volume up, all you can hear in the background was just the horrible static. So I'm giving you this section as a little bit of a time lapse and a little bit of a voiceover from me. So what you have just seen is me filling in the little gap between the top of the tunnel and the actual arch. And then I've just put in the little sort of standout arch at the front. And now I'm putting in the little pillars at the top. And I'm just copying them over from the other bridge that we made last episode. So I put in the little main pillars, and now I'm just going to put in these little dividing pillars, which I hopefully, well, it does, make this tunnel look really, really nice. And then right at the very end, I'm just putting in some little banisters at the top. So obviously all of the pillars are, yeah, there we go. So obviously all of the pillars are joined together really nicely. And this is approximately where I got up to without me speaking. So now you're going to hear me back again. I hope you enjoyed that. And there we have it. That is the finished tunnel, apart from, of course, copying this onto the other side. But I'm very happy with that. Let me just go and do said copying, and we'll get our finished product. So the copying is done, but I've just got to change over these fences because they're symmetrical instead of sort of the same. And there we have it, the entirely finished tunnel. That is, I have to say, very nice. I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. Now, I do feel like at this height, the tunnel is a little bit pointless because wouldn't you think the cutting would just continue? Well, absolutely. So we need to go and make another level of terrain above this one. However, you know me, I love mixing the two terrain types that I use. So instead of adding another cliff face, I'm just going to add those nice big spheres. Yeah, that's not exactly what you want in the middle of your tunnel, is it? So in fact, back to square one, I will be doing another level of cliff above this tunnel. Don't worry, I won't be doing this for too long, and once we're far enough away from the tunnel, I will sort of transition it back to the usual spheres. There we go, something like that, and it makes the tunnel look a lot more necessary. So now I've just got to transition these cliffs into the balls because we're far enough away from the tunnel at this point. I have to say, that really does look like the rolling hills of England, which I'm very proud of. So, final thing to do is just put a bit of terrain on top of this section. There we go, and I've got a slight trouble because you can't have the rolling hills both sides and then not in the middle. So what I'm gonna do is maybe just add a slope in the middle here. And yeah, there we go. I know it's not the perfect rounded hill that we were all hoping for. However, it does fill in the gap and it makes this area look so much nicer now. So that is pretty much all I have time for today. Of course, we cannot forget all of the foliage that we need to do. So let me just do that quickly. And I added in a couple of these maroon and red bushes just because we needed a little bit of colour in this area. But otherwise, that is all we've got time for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and I should hopefully see you guys again very, very soon. Goodbye.